The cloud. All right. Hey guys, good morning. My name's Julius. I've been running this community for like 9 months now. The goal is to bring free visa education to founders globally. And I'm super proud that we get to partner with Jumpstart. We're going to tell you all about the NIW and how to make use of what the US government wants to work on in the next years and in what domains you can actually use your expertise. Um, I'll just, as always, give you guys the stage and then we can have some questions, gather them in the chat, answer them throughout in the chat if we have some time, but mostly at the end. Over to you guys. Thanks.
Perfect. Can we start?
We are ready to roll. Let's go.
Okay. Before showing the presentation, I want to show you guys what we are building to launch soon. But basically, we are creating a real-time dashboard to analyze all type of visas and see how immigration is doing. So this is something that we're going to release soon. So that's nice. It's not so bad as people think in terms of Trump administration. So, and by the way, we got a lot of amazing news for EB2. Uh, some months ago, you need to wait basically the visibility line and the final date on action, which were basically almost 2 years to get work authorization. But right now, since the EB2 is current, you can apply, you can be accept, you can have your case approved and ask your work authorization. And that's amazing because from 1 to 4 months after the approval, you can start to work. And before that, you need to wait basically 2 years. So I think this is amazing new. Another thing important also that I'm including this material for the future is the government realized that they didn't have a workforce enough for unqualified professionals. So they need to double the number of visas for unqualified professional, the A2B visa. Usually, people in hotels, restaurants use this type of visa. So I think immigration is more resilient than people think, and the government is forced to face all these needs, and they don't have other options. They just need to increase the quotes that they have for each visa. So I think things are getting better besides all the noise with Trump administration. So I think this is our initial message, but let's go to the presentation. So let's talk about the EB2. For people who doesn't understand, usually EB means green card, employment-based green card path. We have EB1, which is the best green card in my opinion. Is really fast, but it's also really difficult. Usually, founders that get who get EB1, they cross a Series A, or they have a lot of external recognition like Forbes, TechCrunch. They have amazing product. They realize something. They build something unique. But EB2 is easier, usually is for professionals who are highly skilled, but you don't need to be extraordinary. So that's why EB2 is so important. And in my opinion, O1 should be the backup plan for any immigrant in terms of visa, and EB2 should be the main backup for any immigrant who doesn't want to depend on an employer or want to guarantee your stay in the US. Talk a little bit about Jumpstart. Our idea is to provide safer process for founders, for high skilled professionals in general. So we have a refund policy, and now we have insurance policy that cover even the government fees, because O1 visa can cost 8K. Usually, I2 also, a green card can cost from 10 to 12K. But the government's fees are also high, 4K. So we developed this insurance product to guarantee that you are financially safe. So financial integration is our ad, and I hope until the end of the year we launch a second product to allow people to finance their cars inside the US. So that is our vision in terms of company. Talk a little bit about the AB2 for people who doesn't have any context. Basically, you are allowed to self-petition your file, so you don't need to have an employer. They value a lot the impact that you can cause. I will explain later, but the main pain point for this application is the balance criterion. Basically, you need to show that if they give you a green card, you are going to create jobs. So basically, they give up of a spot in the in terms of a job, because in the end you could get a job of America, and they want to make sure that you create more jobs. So this balanced framework is really important to guarantee that you are going to build it. So a lot of people, they are amazing, but they don't show that they are going to overcome this point. So they fail to prove that. So this is really important. It's nice because you can include your family, and right now is even nicer because if you have a case approved, in from 1 to 4 months you can get your authorization work, and that's amazing. Totally new in terms of the last 5 years. I never saw a scenario so good as it is right now, and it's also a path to become a citizen. um, Feel free to send questions. Thiago and Julius usually help me to answer, and if it's important, someone can tell me. Usually, the groups that we see most at Jumpstart are entrepreneurs and leaders, tech engineers, and scientists and healthcare professionals in general. Uh, Usually the AB2 is not so good for generalists and only business professional. If you, for example, if you're an expert in marketing, operations, research, all of this is considering not only business, because you indeed have a field of expertise, and this is amazing. This helps you a lot to qualify. But if you are a consultant, you work with general frameworks to improve a business only, this is really difficult to be accepted. So usually EB2 has this weakness because US already have a lot of generalist professionals and doesn't fit so well for consultants who only work with working projects related to leaderships with general metrics. But if you already have a specific subset, a specific sub area of the administration, like operations, marketing, this helps you a lot. So it's not a good fit for consultants in general.
And then, sorry
In
to
terms,
interrupt, because I think we have like quite a few also people here who have worked as individual consultants. So should they then frame themselves as like market experts and less so as consultants? Is it like a question of how you design the story arc of the petition?
yes, it's better if you show as an expert. I saw a lot of professionals, they say they're totally generalists, but in the end,
Nossa, o
they...
brasileiro falando inglês tá tão fácil de entender, né?
Oh, sorry. I think I saw someone in Portuguese stuff. But indeed, when we do a deeper research, we realize we always have a subset to talk about. So it's better to talk about marketing, operations. Operations can be a good backup for consultants. but don't say about just leadership, improve business in a generic sense. This doesn't fit because the straightforward conclusion is we already have 50% of the American population working with business in general. So that's the point. What else, Julius?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Okay, so in terms of the minimum qualification, we have three options. Usually people think this is enough, but this is just the minimum to qualify. So you can show you have advanced degree, so MBA, a PhD, a master's. This is a good fit for PhDs because some programs already release your master's degree, even if you are in the middle of the PhD. And this is a good fit because if you show that you can cause impact and your case is approved, you will receive your green card during your PhD program. And you don't need to wait to graduate to look for your green card. So that's a good alternative. The main path is usually professionals with a bachelor degree plus 5 years of experience in a field. And this is important to be really, really specific. For example, if you work with operations and you have a business degree, amazing. Totally framework in terms of operations and tell about operations, your entire petition, because experts has so more chances than generalists to be approved. Just to give you some numbers, for example, developers, AI professionals, cybersecurity professionals, they have in more than 90%, some of them 95% of approval rates. When you go for generalists, rates go through 30%, 35%. And so this is really, really different. And we also have the exceptional ability path, which is different from the O1 or EB1. O1 and EB1 are so much harder. You need to show you are extraordinary. And exceptional is a little bit easier. We have some criteria, and you also need to meet 3. So it's the same story, but basically is less selective. If you are above the average professional, you can fit in the exceptional ability, but you don't need a lot of external recognition. You just need to show that you have the skills enough to fulfill the endeavor that we are proposing. So that's why the EB2 should be the backup for everyone. We have clients and we saw cases that people basically work enhancing their profile during the bachelor's degree, during undergrad. And when they graduate, they were totally ready, for example, to get a master's really fast or get a master during the program. But they had so many recognitions that they were approved with the EB2. So you don't need to wait until have so many years of experience to work on your profile. In terms of the criteria, there's also a framework that you need to show. There are 3 prongs that you need to establish. The first one is propose endeavor with a substantial merit. Basically, you need to show that you are going to build something important in a national scale and national importance. So if you're a doctor, health is a priority. We already have cases of the supply chain professionals working for food, for suppliers, for the food industry. This is a priority right now because food is so expensive in the US, and this became truck drivers, doctors. They have it's easier to show, but if you're an entrepreneur, your business needs to be important. So if you show that you are going to impact the country, not just a local point, you have great chances. There's still some exceptions from people who had a small business, but I would say they have 10 times less. This is not totally a guess, but I'm guessing here. But I would say it's not feasible. You should not rely on this strategy. But indeed, there are cases. for people who are approved with a small business, but it's not the business itself. It's basically the category of the business that help. For example, I saw a guy who created a school to teach how to drive, and basically he was accepted in the end because he was proposing this endeavor in a location without other schools for drivers, and this somehow is a priority in terms of for the government, and they accept the case, but they didn't have. But I would say 95% of the case they had a national impact. So this is really important. You also need to show that you are well positioned to advance the endeavor. So if you propose you are going to build the NASA point two, SpaceX, or something like that, you should be Elon Musk. If you propose that you are going to build a small business, you could be anyone. But the problem is you will not able to show national importance. So basically, there is always a trade-off. You need to show something that's amazing, that's nice, that's challenging, but also something that you can do. And a part of defining a good strategy is to find this balance of something that is important, but it's also something feasible. And also, you need to show that if you get a green card, it's not going to impact the job market in general. And this because you are really well qualified, or because you're going to open a business and you don't need a job anyway. So there's other ways to show that you don't need a labor certification. Let me get my green card. So talk a little bit about the exceptional ability. Usually the criteria are if you have a certificate, academic degree, basically, 10 years of experience, a professional license, a high salary, membership in professional associations. This criteria membership is really important to talk about because a lot of people think about just pay only memberships, and this doesn't qualify. The best scenario, the best example that I have is subcommit of a profession. For example, for lawyers, you have at least 20 fields in law, and imagine the ABA, the Association of Lawyers, they decide to create a commit to discuss about crimes, about taxes. All these groups represent a really small percentage of professionals in top of their fields. They're not going to choose anyone. So these are really good memberships that you can get. For entrepreneurs, they are the YPO, Forbes Council, Endeavor. Usually incubators is not a great fit. Sometimes they are accept if you are able to show that's really difficult. For example, Sigma, some business incubator, but don't rely only on that. A lot of people think it's just a matter of a check in the box and that's it, but it's not true. And also other types of recognition. Sometimes you have partnership with the government, with important suppliers, or even buyers. What else? Media coverage, also some awards, everything you can use here to show that you are amazing. And this, in this way, is somehow similar to O1. But O1 is harder than this exceptional ability criteria. So a good strategy is to get O1 first and get a sense that you can get to the exceptional ability, that you can meet the exceptional ability criteria. What else? So I already told a little bit, but I think it's important to understand this framework of Danazar test, basically divided into 3 prongs. In terms of national importance, this definition is really broad, and you can meet in so many ways. So if you are if you're proposing a business, economic impact is important. But I already saw some social entrepreneurs that the number of users, the number of the lives impacted is so much important that the economic part. And this is totally fine. Job creation is always something that is going to help you in all visa and green card process. Sometimes some strategic areas like healthcare, infrastructure, or industry can be also a way to show that this important in a national way. Uh, in terms of strategies to enhance your case, something that's really, really important right now, and this is not official, I'm giving my personal and jumpstart vision, is to show that if you're proposing a business, you indeed are really able to do everything that you are proposing. Some years ago, it was easy to be approved just with a business plan on paper, but they realize a lot of people do that, and usually they don't look after you for years. For example, in Canada, if you try the startup visa program and you get a path to become a citizen, the government is going to follow you for at least 2 or 3 years. In the US, it's not like this. So what they are doing, instead of following you for 2 or 3 years, they are basically try to identify more evidence that you are going to open the business before applying. So if you already have the previous entrepreneurial experience, if you sometimes open, for example, I am located in my home country and I want to open a business in the US and I want to start hire people even before landing in the US. This is really good because you already put in place our plan, you are hiring people. So this is the best way to show that you're going to create jobs. Open the business even before, of course, you need to pay attention if you have authorization to do so. If you are outside the US, you can open a business. You need to take in consideration if you can, for example, for some fields, you need a specific authorization. For healthcare, you need a license. For marketplace, same thing, financial institution. But for software, be happy, open your business in 1 or 2 days, and that's it. If you get investors, that's a good evidence also. And if you have recognition for your business. So right now, usually last year, it was a year that basically the EB2 melted. A lot of the knowledge that we had for years in terms of what were approved or not start not to work in general for a lot of law firms at once, because the government start to be more selective in terms of this getting evidence that you are going to indeed pursue your endeavor, especially a business, because a lot of people create a fake business plan or business plan just on paper, and they give up of the endeavor even before trying. So that's why these points are so important. And in terms of this meeting, I think is my main message is that all the other parts you can meet in other law firms, people can say about the criteria, but my main insight is show your experience in a way that make really, really clear that you indeed can pursue this endeavor. I already saw some academics, for example, some PhD students, that they proposed a business plan, but they didn't have any business experience. You don't need, but it was a really awkward case, like a case from academia, his whole life, and in the end, he decided to be a founder in a non-straightforward field, and basically without investors, without co-founders. This story is really, really hard to believe. So my point is the minimum is just the minimum. It's not enough to be approved. You need to not only have a really strong narrative, but show that everything that we're saying is true. So in my opinion, the best way is to get a work visa first. O1, E2, E2 is really good. A lot of people don't know really well, but E2 is if you are from Europe. Actually, I would say a lot of countries has this partnership with this deal with US. You can open a small business and your spouse can work inside the US. So it's a really powerful path.
And
So my recommend.
I think because some people might hear about all these words for the first time, right? Like EB1, EB2, E2, and they all sound so similar. So I think if you could like just quickly define the E2 as like a very separate investment visa versus the EB2, which is the green card path, I think that might be helpful for people.
Perfect. Yes, for sure. So the EB1 is the green card for extraordinary professionals. So for founders, reach a Series A, and this is a good sign that you're going to be approved. EB2 is the green card path that you show. You basically you offer an endeavor for the government, and then basically this endeavor can be in three ways. Can be a business. It can be your profession itself. For example, there are some people who work doctors, for example, or if you are oil and gas engineers. It's so rare, it's so difficult to get really good professionals that you can offer keeping working this area as an endeavor that's feasible. But if you are an accountant, a lawyer, this is not going to be a good fit. And you also have the academic path that you can show an academic plan and show, hey, I already doing some research in the US, I have some papers, I have some contributions, and I want to keep doing that inside the US. So basically, these are the options of the endeavors. This is not the official definition. It's more like how law firms separate the endeavors to be easier to create the case. So a professional plan is when your profession is itself is relevant. A business plan is the easiest path, to be honest. And academic when you have a really strong academic background and you want to be as to keep as a researcher. And this is about the AB2, national interest wave. So this green card, and you also have some temporary work visa, but temporary is not so short. Most of them you have 2 or 3 years to work. Some people stay their whole life with a O1 visa. So they are work visas that allow you to live, to work in the US. Usually they are attached to a company, but you can create your company itself. And the visas that are most common are O1, the visa for extraordinary ability. You need some field recognition, press, high salary. You need to show that you are extraordinary. That's the O1. The E2 is a visa to open business. It's more like a startup visa. It's not, I would not say a startup visa. It's a business visa because you can open bakery, bars, really small business also, but you can also open startups. And to do so, you need to be from a country with a specific partnership. The best way is to look if your Google just the name of your country and ask if E2 is a fit. Basically, that's it. You also have the OPT, which is authorization after your graduation program or undergrad. And a lot of people don't know, but you can hire yourself with the OPT or extend OPT. Jumpstart also help people to do that if you need. You have the H1B, which is the lottery path. Basically, you go through a lottery, the government decide who is going to be approved, and you can work inside the US. That's the visa that receive a 100K fee for external professional outside the US. And something that a lot of people forget, we have a path, a really strong path for people who raise capital. Usually you need to 320K. if you raise that with a VC, with a qualified investor, you can get an entrepreneur parole. And this is considering a startup visa, but it's not a visa actually. It's just a piece of paper, but it's powerful. Unfortunately, it's not a visa, but it's our authorization to stay and work in the US. Is really powerful, and your spouse can also work. So what I'm trying to say is, instead of if you're outside the US, or if you don't know all your chances about the EB2, sometimes it's better to redefine the route and basically get a work visa first, start the business, and when you propose this endeavor, you already have a lot of proof that you are going to pursue this specific, because you're already doing. This is really powerful, because the best way to show that you can handle is handling itself. This helps you to show that the business is legit, and also help to show that you are well positioned. Because imagine if you open a business, get investor, get some press, all of these are proof that you already did. You are not going to do. And 2 years ago, it was feasible to just, I would say, create some theories, some hypotheses that you could be well positioned, but you didn't show that you are doing the business. Right now, I always recommend to start the business before. And this is my opinion. Seeing cases that a lot of people with amazing degrees, but without entrepreneurial experience, being rejected because they were not able to show that. So this is really important also. A typical timeline, usually the process can be faster. Like I already saw a case of EB2 that can be done in 1 or 2 weeks, sometimes 1 month. Most cases I saw usually take 2 or 3 months to build the petition itself. And then if you go with a premium, the results, you get the results in 9 weeks, so 2 months and something. And then your case is approved. If you receive a request for evidence, the whole process can take 6 months instead of just 2 months and a half. What else? If you go without premium, usually it takes 1 year or 1 year and a half to get the results. Before January, a lot of people, before February actually, a lot of people go without premium because you could get the green card and work authorization just in the future anyway. So you didn't have any benefit if you go with a premium. Right now, since the process is current, I recommend to go with a premium, because if your case is approved, you can already ask a work authorization. And I saw cases that people receive their work authorizations in 1 month. So it's really powerful. Imagine you decide to go with a law firm, and then your case is approved in, you build your case in 2 months, you build your petition, you file, you get the result in 2 months, and 1 month extra, you get the work authorization. I think 5 months to get a free work authorization in the US. This is totally amazing. So right now, I recommend go with a premium. By the way, there's a long discussion if you have more or less chances going with a premium or without premium. Most lawyers say you have less chances because USCIS has less time. To be completely honest with you, I'm a data scientist, so I always try to look the numbers. When I asked for USAS what their opinion about that, they said that was no sense in paying a premium process to have less chance. And this convinced me for a while. But after talking to some lawyers, they say, oh, this is nice, the philosophy, the idea, but in the end, they had less times, and we know their backoffs, and they are always running. Sometimes they don't have time, so they deny, they send you a request for evidence. So I don't have the concrete data yet to show you that, because they don't release public data about that. But there is this discussion, just to let you know. And after your case approved and get, you already can get the work authorization. But the green card itself usually take 1 year and a half or 2 years to arrive. And if you are from India or China, this changed because the line is so much bigger for these two nationalities. Other countries are usually fine. And right now, unfortunately, we have some countries that are not able to issue the green card because Trump administration ban these countries in a list. Uh, so usually the mistakes that we saw a lot is vague proposed endeavor. So a lot of people tell that, hey, I'm a consultant, I'm going to do some consultations and I'm going to help people with my consulting, and that's it. This doesn't help you to understand. So if you are an expert and you have a specifically domain, and if you are able to explain all the details that what we're going to do, this is better. If we're able to measure the impact, for example, we already saw clients that they were building.
Good morning. Good evening. I'm Gail calling.
Enoch, can you
Oh,
mute yourself?
sorry.
Enoch, can you please mute your mic? Thanks.
Oh, okay. In terms of impact, we have some business that this is easier to do, especially if you're an investor, if you are a real estate professional, if you work with operations. Sometimes even technology, you can estimate the number of the clients or users that you're going to get or you want to get. This helps a lot then to understand and calculate the impact. If you're a local business, try to understand, at least if you saw other cases being approved. Don't believe it. Be really skeptical about local business. It's possible, it's feasible, but a really small minority. You need to show all the details. So a lot of people also commit this mistake. They rely a lot on letters, and letters can work as solid evidence depending on the case. For example, we had a client from Microsoft, and since Microsoft is a really well regulated large corporation, they are not able to send us a lot of documentation. But the vice president of a specific division write a letter for this guy, for this applicant, and this was considering a really solid evidence because it was from someone, a C-level of a larger corporation, telling about your impact. And the chances of this guy lying is really, really small. But if you have a medium size, a startup, recommendation letter, and a founder writes a letter for other founder, or sometimes a VC writing a letter for a founder, this is not considering enough because they understand the letter is just the beginning of the documentation. You need to show everything extra. But USCIS, the immigration itself, has also some flexibility for cases that we're not able, but you really need to justify why you are not able to include solid evidence and just a recommendation letter. This is really important. What else? And this is a mistake when people they have just the wiki positioning. Is more like when you just have the minimum. So you have your bachelor plus 5 years, you just have a master, but you don't have some consistency in your profile showing that you are able to do some amazing things, because building a business is really difficult. So if your proposed endeavor is building a business, you need to show that you have a lot of qualifications. That's why my recommendation is start the business before it can be a really good strategy. But if you're a second or third time founder, if you are from a Ivy League, you have more credentials, you are totally fine also. What else? opening a business is not the only way. If you're academic, go with the academic path. It's totally fine. If your career is really rare and there's not so many professionals in your area, go with a professional plane. But try not to believe in people who offer you a shortcut. The process is, I would say, is decent, is hard enough, but is easier than other options. It's challenging enough, but it's not impossible. EB1 is really, really hard. Sometimes you need to take 2 or 3 years to enhance your profile. I don't think it's something that you can do, for example, in 6 months. But for EB2, if you have the minimum qualifications, if you can get some press, some recognitions to show that you are above average a professional, that's fine. So that's my opinion for the EB2 national interest. What else? So main points, don't forget the national important. That's the name of the program, so it's really important. Don't rely just on letters. Data and solid evidence reports are really welcome to show that you are well positioned. And sometimes you can include independent expert validation. This is not a recommendation letter. It's more a professional assessment. Imagine we have a client that he was the only representative of his career in Brazil because he worked with nuclear energy in Brazil, and he's the only one of his profession in the country. This guy can get a EB1, but if you are trying to defend a EB2 for this guy, we can ask an expert from the US to analyze his career and say, hey, this, if he built this in Brazil, this represents that in the US, and this is really difficult to do. So understand the expert not as a recommendation, as a recommender, but more as someone who help you to translate how complex things are in your field and how amazing you are if the evidence is true. They're not going to say, hey, this guy has this evidence and this is amazing. It's more hypothetical exercise, so they can write any interpretation. Of course, you need to be, the story should be reliable and feasible. And sometimes less is more. Usually B2 itself is already really, really long. We have cases from 1,000 pages to 2,000, 3,000 pages, but it's not this is not a free license to include a lot of bullshit in the process. My opinion in terms of how short or how long should be a petition is you have all the freedom to choose the size if you include only valid and important evidence. Don't try to bullshit, don't try to make longer. We already saw petitions with really small petitions with 200 being approved. And I already saw a case with 2,000, and indeed it was not enough because sometimes you have a report and a report can have 100 or 200 pages, and sometimes they are necessary and just totally fine. So the size, the length of the petition is not relevant. Only the content is. And thank you. This is my contact. Feel free to reach out if you want to understand any detail. If something is not clear, feel free to ask. A lot of people reach us to ask options to enhance the profile, to assess your chances. This is totally fine. We provide this for free, and we like to help you also. We believe that a way to be connected with the ecosystem is we offer this initial free assessment and we help people to understand their chances. if we are lucky to be chosen by you, amazing. If not, we at least help you. So don't be shy. Indeed, feel free to reach out. We love to also learn from different cases, just to give a sense of how many cases we saw. There are more than 108 type of visas, the same amount of countries that can enter in the US somehow. So we are always learning new cases, and we love to do that. So feel free to reach out. And if we don't know something, we can refer some other law firms or other lawyers to help you guys. Okay, but feel free to you can count on us. And we have here, like always, a discount promo valid until the end of the month and the week. So if you have more questions, I'm here to clarify.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fabiano. This is great, as always. I suggest people can spend some time. Do scan the QR code, just so that I can make use of that discount in case you want to move forward. And it, of course, doesn't have to be like an EB2 NIW, but like any other visa. And then the guys are really great with helping out. So thanks so much for that. Let's spend some more time. We have like 10 minutes left to answer individual questions. You can just unmute yourself and ask it directly here, or if you're shy, put it in the chat.
About the offer is valid for one. Yes, it is. We always have this. We can give you a 10% discount